In a dramatic turn of events, visible tensions inside the government of national unity have spilled into the public arena, raising urgent questions about stability, leadership, and the future of coalition governance. At the center of the controversy stands Gayton McKenzie, whose recent public actions and statements have ignited fierce debate across the political spectrum. What unfolded has led some observers to argue that the fragile balance holding the GNU together may be under unprecedented strain. Following South Africa's historic 2024 general election, no single party secured an outright majority. The result forced political rivals into an unprecedented arrangement, the Government of National Unity, often referred to as the GNU. Designed as a stabilizing mechanism during a period of economic pressure, public frustration, and institutional fatigue, the coalition was presented as a pragmatic response to a divided electorate. The GNU brought together ideologically diverse parties under one administrative structure. While marketed as a symbol of political maturity, analysts warned from the outset that deep philosophical differences could complicate governance. Compromise would be constant. Discipline would be essential. Public messaging would need careful coordination. In recent weeks, however, those fault lines appear to have widened. The controversy erupted after Gayton McKenzie, a prominent coalition figure and leader within his political movement, participated in and reportedly spearheaded what critics described as a highly provocative public event. Supporters framed the event as an assertion of political identity and accountability. Critics, however, characterized it as theatrically confrontational and destabilizing to coalition unity. According to reports and political commentary circulating at the time, the event was perceived by some within the GNU as undermining collective messaging. Allegations have emerged suggesting that certain coalition partners were not fully consulted beforehand. While no formal breach of coalition agreements has been confirmed, the optics intensified scrutiny. Footage and commentary from the gathering quickly spread across national media platforms. Opposition figures questioned whether the GNU could maintain coherence if internal leaders pursued independent public campaigns. Analysts noted that coalition governments depend heavily on disciplined communication, and deviations can trigger ripple effects far beyond a single event. Within days, reports suggested that high-level discussions were underway among coalition partners. While official statements emphasized unity and continued cooperation, political insiders indicated that private conversations were more tense. The challenge facing the GNU is structural. Unlike majority governments, coalition arrangements require constant negotiation. Every policy stance, public appearance, and legislative decision carry symbolic weight. When one leader appears to chart an independent course, it can signal deeper strategic divides. Gayton McKenzie has cultivated a reputation as a bold and outspoken political actor. His supporters argue that his style resonates with voters who feel unheard. They contend that strong, visible leadership is necessary in a period of national uncertainty. Critics counter that coalition leadership demands restraint and consensus building over spectacle. This tension between populist momentum and coalition discipline now lies at the heart of the unfolding story. The South African public response has been sharply divided. On social media platforms and call-in radio programs, some citizens praise the display as refreshing candor in a political culture often criticized for scripted diplomacy. Others express concern that visible infighting could erode confidence in national governance. Business leaders and market analysts have also weighed in cautiously. Stability remains a key priority for investors monitoring South Africa's fiscal trajectory. Any perception of fragmentation within the GNU risks unsettling economic confidence, even if no immediate policy disruption occurs. Civil society organizations have urged coalition partners to prioritize governance over political theatrics. According to several policy commentators, the News Corps mandate was to restore institutional trust and accelerate service delivery. Public disputes risk distracting from that agenda. At stake is not merely political image but functional governance. The GNU must coordinate across ministries, parliamentary committees, and provincial structures. If coalition cohesion weakens, legislative processes could slow. Policy implementation could face delays. Internal rivalries could complicate budget negotiations. Some political observers have raised the possibility that smaller coalition partners may attempt to renegotiate aspects of the unity agreement. Others suggest that this episode may simply represent early turbulence in what is inevitably a complex arrangement. Importantly, no formal announcement has been made indicating the collapse of the GNU. Official channels continue to affirm cooperation. Yet symbolism matters in politics. Perception can shape reality, especially in coalition environments. South Africa's political landscape has been shifting for years. Declining voter loyalty to dominant parties, rising support for smaller movements, and growing economic frustration have reshaped electoral outcomes. The emergence of the GNU itself was evidence of this transition. It signaled that traditional majority rule could no longer be taken for granted. Coalition politics may become the norm rather than the exception. In that context, the actions of high-profile figures like Gayton McKenzie carry amplified weight. Each public appearance, each strategic maneuver, feeds into a broader narrative about the country's political maturity and stability. Some analysts argue that visible disagreements are not necessarily signs of collapse but symptoms of democratic negotiation. Others warn that unresolved tensions could deepen ideological fractures. The coalition could respond with renewed internal discipline, clarifying communication protocols and reinforcing collective decision-making. This would signal resilience and adaptability. Alternatively, persistent public disagreements could weaken trust among partners. If smaller parties perceive disproportionate influence or unilateral action, negotiations could intensify behind closed doors. There is also the possibility that this episode recalibrates political alliances ahead of future elections. Coalition dynamics are inherently fluid, and strategic positioning often begins long before ballots are cast. At this stage, no definitive rupture has been confirmed. What is evident, however, is that the GNU faces a critical test of cohesion. For Gayton McKenzie, the moment carries both risk and opportunity. Bold leadership can energize supporters but unsettle partners. In coalition politics, the balance between personal brand and collective responsibility is delicate. Whether this episode strengthens or diminishes his standing depends largely on how events unfold in the coming weeks. Political leadership in South Africa operates within a uniquely complex environment, shaped by historical expectations, economic demands, and social pressures. Navigating that environment requires strategic calculation as much as conviction.